Hello, I'm Gordon Lang, editor of CameraLabs.com. I'd like to give you a brief video tour around the Panasonic Lumix DMC-FX33. Here it is, the FX33. It's an 8.1 megapixel compact camera with a 3.6 times optical zoom range. And that range is equivalent from 28 to 100mm, which allows the FX33 to zoom out much wider than most rival compacts. And that's really useful whether you're taking pictures of big buildings, big landscapes, or even just big group shots. It's really useful in situations where you just can't step back any further. Around the back of the camera is a decent quality 2.5-inch screen, and I've got some demonstrations of various menus and functions that you can use that for coming up in just a moment. In terms of the build quality, it's really very good. This camera feels very solid, its metal body looks really nice, and it's also smaller than a lot of compacts as well. It's 22mm thick, which is fairly average, but it's only 52mm tall, which makes it quite a bit shorter than a lot of rival compacts. Speaking of other compacts though, if you're familiar with Panasonic's range, you may have a sense of deja vu, because the new FX33 is very similar to its predecessor, the FX30. Both cameras share pretty much the same body, the same lens, and almost all the exact same features. So what's new on the FX33? Well, inevitably you get an extra megapixel, and also inevitably the maximum sensitivity has jumped from not just 3200 ISO, but all the way up to 6400 ISO. Well, that's not really that practical in terms of quality in practice. The two really important new features on the FX33 though are Panasonic's intelligent auto mode and also face detection that you may have seen activated earlier when I was showing you the screen. Now let's take a closer look at the FX33's controls. The exterior of the FX33 is virtually unchanged from its predecessor. You've got an on-off switch on the top, a shutter release button with a zoom rocker around it, and the mode dial here, which again is recessed under this top panel. As you turn it round though, you'll notice there's a couple of differences. The heart mode of its predecessor, which was the fully automatic mode, is gone, and in its place is IA. That's Intelligent Auto, and it's the big new feature on the FX33. When you've got it set to Intelligent Auto, the camera attempts to detect what kind of picture you're trying to take and switches itself to the appropriate preset. You'll also notice that there's a clipboard option, and this allows you to grab 1 or 2 megapixel stills of things like maps or timetables. Around the back, the controls are exactly the same as its predecessor. You've got the 4 direction buttons here, a menu set in the middle. The function button here drops down the function menu on the screen, and the display button switches the actual screen options. Around the side, we've got a small door here that opens to reveal a combined TV output and USB port, and down here a connector for a DC input. Underneath the camera is of course the battery compartment, and also the slot, which of course takes SD memory cards. Now we're outside with the FX33, so let's see how long it takes to power up. Flick the power on switch, and about a second and a half later you're ready for action. Now let's have a look at the optical zoom range of this camera. Here we are zoomed all the way out an equivalent of 28mm, and now zoomed all the way in to 3.6 times, which takes you to an equivalent focal length of 100mm. Let me just focus the camera here. Now you'll notice a small amount of camera shake there, but of course the FX33 has optical image stabilization, and to switch that on you press the function button to the bottom right corner of the camera, and there we can see 2 OIS modes, mode 1 which stabilizes all the time, and mode 2 which only stabilizes as you take the picture. We're going to put it on mode 1 and have a look at the difference that's made. As you can see, that image is much steadier. Even at a focal length of 100mm, it's still very useful to have. Let's zoom back out again. Now, like most compact cameras, you can overlay various graphics on the screen. If you press the display button just to the bottom right of the screen, you can display some shooting information, a live histogram that shows the tonal range of the image. Press it once more and you get a 3x3 grid that helps with alignment and also applying the rule of thirds. You'll also notice when I press the display button that, like most Panasonic cameras, it gives you an LCD mode option. I'll show you that once more. If you hold it down for 1 second, you get 4 modes here. Power LCD brightens the screen, which is handy under very bright conditions, and high angle appears to brighten it again. Now you can't really see this on this video, but what that allows you to do is more easily see the screen when you're holding the camera high above your head. It's no substitute for a flip out screen, but it's still quite handy nonetheless. And new to the FX33 is the Auto Power LCD option that adjusts the brightness depending on the ambient surroundings. One of the nicest things about Panasonic's cameras is the function menu, which you saw a brief demonstration of just a moment ago. If I press that again, you'll see that it overlays a drop-down menu on the top of the screen here. And by pushing the buttons to the right of the screen, you can easily navigate these different options. There we've got the image stabilization mode. Here we've got the drive mode, the white balance, the sensitivity range, which if I scroll down here, you can see that goes all the way to 1600 ISO at the full resolution. Speaking of resolution, there it is there. This camera now has 8 megapixels. And finally there is the JPEG compression ratio. We've got it set to fine at the moment. The Panasonic Lumix FX33 is a very desirable compact camera. The 28mm wide angle coverage is genuinely useful in practice. The 2.5-inch screen is great quality. There's some really neat modes like a widescreen movie recording option, and also that drop down function menu makes it very easy to adjust popular settings. The build quality is very good, and it's also a bit smaller than most rival compacts, so all in all pretty good. On the downside, if you're after a compact where you can adjust the aperture and shutter speed, then this isn't the model for you. There's very few manual controls, although plenty of scene presets if you want to get creative. Like most compact cameras, there are noise issues at high sensitivities. You really do want to use the FX33 at 100 ISO or at a push 200. But so far, all of what I've just said is equally applicable to the earlier FX30, so what about the new features of this camera? Are they worth having? Well, that extra megapixel resolution doesn't really make a great deal of difference in real life, and let's just say that in terms of image quality, you're probably not going to be using that 6400 ISO option all that often. However, there are two options on this camera that are well worth having over its predecessor. The face detection genuinely works in practice, and we found that it could lock onto subjects even when they were almost in full profile. The icing on the cake though is Panasonic's intelligent auto mode, which really does an uncannily good job at working out what kind of photo you're trying to take and then selecting an appropriate scene preset. In use it works very well, and it really lifts this model beyond a lot of rival compacts. So, if you're after a quality compact camera, the Panasonic FX33 should be high on your list. But of course you really should compare it to some other models, and we've done just that at cameralabs.com. So if you'd like to see how the image quality of this camera compares to its closest rivals, and also check out some sample images and find out more information about this camera, then head on over to our full review. You'll find it at www.cameralabs.com.